Hi, welcome to Road by Culture. I'm your host, Kevin Isley. Today we're going to talk about my Berlin experience with the Rafa Cycle Club. My wife and I decided to take a family vacation to Berlin because she has a friend who's working in Berlin at the moment and we had a free place to stay, and Berlin is kind of an awesome city. Of course, I asked my wife, if we go to Berlin, can I go for a bike ride? And she said, of course. So I started researching how to rent a bike in Berlin, and I didn't find anything really worth renting at a decent price. So through more research, I realized Rafa had a cycle club and I could rent a bike for $25 if I joined the RCC. I'm going to do a future video about the RCC and my 1-year experience with them to see if it's worth the $200. But so far, it seems that it is. Once I joined the RCC, I rented my bike and I wanted to go on a ride on a Saturday. But that ride was already filled up. So I went to Strava to see if I was following anybody in Berlin, and I was following somebody in Berlin. His name is Marcus Roner. I looked at his maps. I found one that looked pretty good from Berlin. I contacted him through Strava. I said, is this a good ride? I'm renting a bike on Saturday from the RCC. He said, go on the RCC ride. It's fun, it's not too hard, and everybody's really nice. And then I told him it's already filled up, so I'm just looking for a ride. The next day I got an email from Marcus saying, here's your ticket to ride. He had contacted the RCC and said, hey, there's a guy coming in from San Francisco. Let's get him on the list. I got on the list and I went for a ride there. On the morning of the ride, which left at 10:30 in the morning, the store opens up at 10 on Saturdays. I got my bike and they fit it to me. It was a really easy experience. The only thing you have to do is bring your pedals, bring your helmet, bring your kit, bring your shoes, and bring your computer, but they do rent Wahoos, which I didn't do because I have my Garmin. Once my bike was ready, I was waiting outside with the rest of the crew for the ride, and Alexi, the ride leader, started talking about the ride we're gonna do, and he was speaking in English, which is great, except the words he was using of the route we were gonna take was all German, so I didn't understand it anyway. Alexi was very generous, and he introduced the two people from other countries who were joining the ride. He introduced me from San Francisco and Fabio from Amsterdam. Once we started out on the ride, everybody was really friendly. People were curious about San Francisco. People were curious about me, why I came to Berlin. It was easy to start conversations with these people. The ride itself was not that difficult, 47 miles, 1,000 vert, because Berlin is flat. I heard one person on the ride say that a lot of people who run marathons come to the Berlin Marathon solely to get their best personal time over a marathon distance. The first thing you notice riding through Berlin, there's a lot of cobblestone streets, and we don't have those in the States, so I was getting a little used to it. I didn't take a whole lot of video in the beginning because the cobblestones made it a little sketchy for me to ride one-handed with a camera. Once we get out on the bigger streets, we ride by Kaiser Wilhelm Memorial Church, which is a very famous church built in 1790, but during World War II, it had the snot bombed out of it. The only thing left was the steeple. They decided to rebuild the church in a modern fashion, but they left the steeple destroyed. And you can see the top of it right here. And they vowed never to fully fix this church and leave it as a reminder of the fascism that Hitler brought to Germany and all of the destruction that followed. After that, we ride to a gigantic roundabout with Victory Column. This thing is impressive. Fun to ride around. It is extremely historic, and people were pointing out all the different history that happened here as we continued on around the roundabout and through the Tiergarten. Our ride was heading towards Potsdam, Germany, and right before we got to Potsdam, Germany, we rode by the Bridge of Spies. This is where in 1962, the US exchanged a foreign agent of the Soviet Union for a YouTube pilot named Gary Powers. I met a lot of interesting people on this ride. One of them was Kristian Werner. He is a film director, and he was telling me a lot about the movies he makes and just sort of the state of the German film industry, which I was finding really fascinating. Another person I met was named Max. He is an American. He grew up in LA. He is a music composer, and he's lived in Berlin for a year. When I asked him if he spoke German, he said, no, I don't speak any German, but you don't really need to in Berlin because it's such an international city. Once we get to Potsdam, we ride around this really beautiful lake that I can't pronounce the name of, and I'm not going to try, but if you look on my Strava, you'll see it. It's a really cool place. We rode by a lot of people just out picnicking and having a good time. It was really, really aesthetic. I totally enjoyed riding around this lake. While on the ride, I kept saying, are we gonna ride under Brandenburg Gate? And everybody's like, no, we're not gonna ride under Brandenburg Gate. I'm like, oh, okay, where is Brandenburg Gate from the Rafa store? Because I really wanna go there and ride underneath the Brandenburg Gate. This information got to the ride leader, and then word got back to me. It's like, we're going under the Brandenburg Gate. He's gonna take you there. He wants you to have an amazing bike ride. And I was like, yeah. We got back to the victory column and hopped on Straße des 17. Juni, which literally translates into Street of 17th of June. After Stalin died, there was an uprising in East Germany where East Germans were trying to overthrow the Soviets, and the East German police killed a lot of people on the 17th of June. And in 1953, they changed the name of the street in honor of that date. This is an east-west running street, and if you are on it heading west and you go under Brandenburg Gate, this is the same direction that Napoleon went when he took Berlin in 1806. The history of Berlin is insane. You know, in my destination videos, I always go over a lot of history. It's impossible with Berlin. It is just an amazingly history-filled city. It is beautiful in every way, and the people are really nice. After going under the Brandenburg Gate, we took a little rest. I took some video, a couple pictures. We regrouped because a stoplight kind of messed us up, and we head back into the Rafa Club. Once we got back, I was thinking of going for a few more miles, but then it started raining. I'm like, okay, I guess my ride's over. I got a beer, and I hung out with the people on the ride. We had amazing conversations. They were very friendly. They like it when people come to their Rafa Club from all over the world, and they get to have really good conversations. Some of them said they want to come to San Francisco. I gave out my number to a couple of people. I hope they call me. I'll show them a really good ride, although they'll probably just do it with the Rafa Club. Most of us like to travel, and when we travel, we really want to ride our bike in these foreign places. And you can do that by going on bike tours or hiring a bike tour guide and have most likely a very good time. But when you come to a Rafa Cycle Club and you ride on just one of their group rides anywhere in the world, you see that area through the eyes of local cyclists. They tell you about cycling laws and cycling lore and just the history of their community. And so far, everybody I've met all over the world is proud of where they live. They think it's a really cool place. And when you tie that in with the fact that you're both cyclists and you're both on the road, traveling becomes an amazing experience. Well, I think that just about covers it. My experience with the Rafa Cycle Club Berlin. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. And as always, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm everywhere. And until the next time, I hope to see you out there on the road.